hope you enjoyed watching that little vlog that I made of making these two hats. This is the Monument hat by Hannah Lubin, otherwise known as Herbgarden Knitwear. And as soon as Hannah announced this pattern, I was very interested in making it because it looked super chunky and warm. But the way that Hannah wrote the pattern, it's written to use 2 strands of unspun yarn held with a strand of mohair. And I can't get unspun yarn very easily. It's not readily available where I live in Eastern Canada. And I figured because that used a few strands of yarn together, chances are I could probably make a thicker weight wool work for the pattern. So I chatted with my friend Hannah and asked her what her gauge for the pattern was, and she told me the gauge. And based off of that, I started looking at some Aran weights and some bulky weight yarns, and of those that were pretty easy for me to get a hold of, Knit Picks came up. And I order from Knit Picks pretty regularly based on what I need for a pattern. I love their color selection. I love their yarn selection. They have a variety of different fiber types and yarn weights, and I can usually find a color that I really like. So I tend to go to Knit Picks when I need some yarn for a pattern, particularly if I find the pattern first and I need something specific in mind. I trust Knit Picks to have pretty standard types, weights, and fiber types for what I'm looking for. Anyway, based off of Hannah's gauge, I figured that the Knit Picks Wool of the Andes Superwash Bulky Weight would fit the bill for these hats. And I used Cobblestone Heather for Doyle's, and I used Garnet Heather for mine. And wouldn't you know it, it met the gauge perfectly, worked out perfectly for the pattern. I was really, really happy with it. And although the yarn was kind of rough in my hands when I was knitting the hats, it's actually super cozy once it's on my head, and I find that I am not affected by the wool itch at all. Especially because I find that my forehead can be a little sensitive sometimes, but not a problem with these hats. So I knit, for both Doyle and I knit size 3. And I actually thought I was knitting size 2, but when I counted my stitches, I casted on the number of stitches for size 3. But it ended up being okay because these hats, circumference-wise, fit perfectly. Both Doyle and I, we have similar sized heads, and they're quite comfortable to wear and nice and cozy because of this lovely double brim. There are 5 sizes to this pattern, which I absolutely love because even your head can be something that needs size inclusivity. Hannah has designed 5 sizes for this pattern. They range from a 20-inch circumference to a 25-inch circumference. So pretty much all the adult sizes that you might need. Mine, of course, is unblocked. I know I usually block everything, and I talk about how important blocking is, but when it comes to hats, I don't bother because you just shove them on your head and they fit fine. So I find that I just don't bother with blocking accessories unless there's a detail that I need to show off. But as you can see with the Monument hat, as soon as you put it on your head, you can see this beautiful stitch detailing, which you can't see when it's not being worn. But I don't want to block my hats to stretch them to see this pattern because then they'll be too big for my head. They won't fit nice and snugly. Here in Nova Scotia, we get a lot of wind in our winters, and I really don't want my lovely warm and cozy hat to be knocked off by the wind. So I don't block them. I keep them nice and snug. You can see the beautiful stitch pattern as soon as I put it on. So I was really intrigued by how this stitch design was done, and I absolutely love it. Funny enough, it was cabling, and I know a lot of people who are beginner knitters get very scared of cabling. Nothing to worry about. Cables are one of those things that look super challenging and intimidating and complicated, but they're actually really easy. And I did something for the first time on these hats. I cabled without a cable needle because when you get to the cable row, there's a lot of cabling to do, and I really didn't want to have to insert a cable needle all the time across those rows. It was just going to take a lot longer for me. So I figured out how to do cabling without a cable needle. Hint, it works best with sticky yarn, such as this really woolly superwash wool. I would not do it with something like bamboo, which is super slippery and you might lose all of your stitches. But it worked great for the wool, and it was surprisingly easy, kind of like cables in general. So this is a great pattern to kind of test that new skill, and I was really excited about it. Felt really good about it, and definitely something I will do more of in the future, depending on how many stitches I need to cable. So let's talk about what I like about this pattern and what I might do differently in the future. First of all, I absolutely love the yarn size. So I used bulky weight yarn, but this is a great size to do some stash busting because I used about 125 yards of yarn. And I'm sure all of us somewhere in our stash have about 100 or 120, 150 yards of yarn just hanging around waiting to be used. Either the rest of a ball of fingering or maybe half of a ball of worsted, anything like that. There just might be something hanging around in your stash. You don't have to use just one strand of bulky like I did. You could do what Hannah did, which is hold a few strands of yarn together. And it doesn't have to be 2 strands of unspun and 1 strand of mohair. As long as you hit the gauge of the pattern, you are set. And because it's a hat, it is pretty forgivable. And especially because it's a ribbed hat. You know, at the core, this pattern is a ribbed pattern, which is a really stretchy, elastic type of stitch, which it's quite forgiving if you don't meet gauge perfectly. So that's one thing I really like about this pattern is that it opens up the possibility for stash busting, which I can always use patterns that do some stash busting because my stash. I'll get into that in a later video. So yeah, that's the first thing I love about this pattern is that it's great for stash busting. Also because it only uses, for me at least, about 125 yards of yarn. This pattern is super, super quick. I knit both of these hats within a week. I was working on them kind of in tandem, kind of not. So I started Doyle's first. And by the time I got to the point that I needed to do the first cable row, I needed something to work on during a meeting at work. And I wasn't ready to do cabling while paying attention to a meeting. So I cast on mine and I just did the earliest parts of the hat, which is just the ribbed brim, which meant that I could very easily pay attention to my meeting and not worry about making mistakes, which I probably would have done if I tried to do the cabling row during a meeting at work. So I was kind of working on both of them, but as soon as I got out of that meeting, I went back to Doyle's hat and finished off his hat before then coming back to my hat and doing the cabling for mine. I actually finished, I'd say probably half of my hat all in one Sunday morning this past weekend. And I was furiously trying to finish it because we were going to be going to my parents that afternoon because my mom wanted us to come and help decorate their tree. Both of us, my parents and us, put up our trees this past weekend. It is the earliest that I have ever put up a tree, but we were just feeling like doing it and bringing more Christmassy spirit into the house. And I'll talk more about why at the end of the video. But it was just, I wanted to get the hat done before we had to leave so that I could take pictures when we got to my parents' house. And I managed to finish probably half of the hat within a morning. Now, my arms were quite sore afterwards because I don't typically do that much knitting, and I do find that I get wrist fatigue or hand fatigue if I knit too much. Funny enough, while knitting this hat, I got sort of like tendon fatigue, I guess is the only way I could think to describe it, because it was like the tendon in my forearm back here. But, I'm just taking a couple of days off of knitting now so that I can rest my arms, rest my wrists, rest my hands, and then I'll get into knitting something else in a little while. So that's the second thing that I really love about this pattern is that it is super quick to knit. Third thing I love about this pattern is this deliciously squishy, warm, cozy double brim hat. I have only gotten into double brimmed hats within the past year or two, and I can't believe I wasn't doing them before now, because they are so nice and toasty around your ears, which I don't know about you, but that's the first part of my body that gets cold as soon as I go outside is my ears. And before now, I was just doing regular, just ribbed brim and then knitting a hat and then finishing it off at the top. I had not done a double brim, especially not a really wide double brim like this one. And I absolutely love it. I think that that's probably one of my favorite features about this hat is that you do get that really snuggly double brim right around your ears. Definitely something I'm going to be doing more of in the future. It is worth doing your brim length double just so you can flip it up and have that extra warmth around your ears. So cozy. The fourth thing that I like about this pattern is, of course, this beautiful stitch pattern. It was super easy to do. It didn't require a lot of technicality or anything, and it looks really impressive. It's a little different than your standard ribbed hat, but you still get the same effect with the stretchiness of the rib, with that really nice detail to it. And lastly, the fifth thing that I love about this hat is the size inclusivity. It's something that I talked about in my video about doing the... Hi, Bennett. Size inclusivity when it comes to accessory patterns is something that I also talked about in my podcast episode about the school run headband that I did, which was done by Penrose Knits. So size inclusivity is actually something a lot of accessory patterns don't have, which, you know, as humans, we have varying types of bodies and body sizes. Hi, Bennett. That doesn't stop when we get to our heads or our hands or our necks. So it's really nice to have an accessory pattern that offers multiple sizes. And I actually have kind of a big head, so I love it when hats come in more than one size. Now, there is only one thing that I don't love about this pattern and that I will do differently in the future. And that's this point at the top. So there are a variety of hat styles out there, and I've been seeing it a lot this year and last year. And the style these days is to have a toque that has more of a pointy style to it. Kind of like Spinelli from Recess, if you guys watched that when you were growing up. I'll insert a picture right here so you can see what Spinelli looked like. And although that's a really cute look, it's not my preferred look for a hat. I actually don't like having a pointy hat. I prefer to have mine be more of like a dome shape. So if I like press down this peak, you can see that it's more of like a smooth dome. That's what I prefer for hats. So if I knit this pattern again, I'm going to change up how I do the crown decreases so that I don't get as long of a crown and I don't get the peak. I'll modify it so that I have more of a dome. But I do recognize that a lot of people really like this peak style right now. Mine might be a little exaggerated just because of the way that my head is shaped. So if I were to get rid of the peak, I would have to like really squish my hat down, and then it just looks like there's too much of it. And I don't want to like pull my brim up further because then I'm going to hide this really nice stitch detailing along the main part of the hat. So obviously, I'm definitely still going to wear this hat because it is probably my coziest hat that I have. I really, really like it. I love this beautiful cranberry red color, which is going to go really nicely in the holiday season. And I just have a gray coat and a black coat, so obviously this cranberry red is going to go very nicely with both of those coats. So definitely going to wear this hat a lot this winter. But if I make the pattern again, I'm going to try and make it without the peak. But that's definitely a style choice. And I know Doyle really likes his hat exactly as it is. He has a bit of a longer head than me, so the peak doesn't look as exaggerated on him, but it still looks really nice on both of us. Might still have some hat hair from wearing my monument hat, but I took them off now because I was getting warm. Anyway, now to ask myself the question I ask every time I do a podcast episode, will I make this pattern again? I absolutely will make this pattern again. I love having little accessory patterns that I can just pull out anytime I need a palette cleanser or if I need to make a gift for people. Obviously, I've talked many times about how I absolutely hate gift knitting, but if I choose to make something for somebody who I know is knit worthy and I have a long period of time in which to make that item, this is definitely going to be one that I pull out of my arsenal because of all the reasons that I listed before about why I like this pattern, but especially because it knits up quick and I can stash bust with it. So yes, I will definitely make this pattern again. If you've made it this far into the video, I have a little surprise for you. My lovely friend Hannah has gifted me 4 copies of her monument hat pattern to give away to you, my lovely viewers. If you would like to make your own monument hat, you simply need to be subscribed to my YouTube channel and comment in the comments of this video. You can comment whatever you feel like commenting, but you have to include the hashtag monument hat, which I will put right here on the video. So if you don't want to enter the giveaway, you can still comment, just don't add the hashtag monument hat and you won't be included in the giveaway. But if you do want to make one yourself, simply leave a comment with the tag monument hat. And I think this is exactly the right time of year to be doing this kind of a giveaway because Christmas is coming or Hanukkah. And like I said, these whip up fast. So if you got someone as a secret Santa or if you forgot that you had that relative that you needed to get something for, or maybe you just want to make something cozy for yourself for the winter, you can whip this up pretty quickly. And you just might be able to do it for free. If not, I have included the link to the pattern below in the description so that you can purchase your own copy of the pattern. Thank you so much to my lovely friend Hannah for giving me 4 copies of the pattern to give away to you folks. Now, I have another super special surprise to tell you all now. I have decided to do something this year, and this is the first announcement of it. And based on the time of year, you might know what I'm going to say, but if you don't, here it is. Breaking news. I'm going to be doing Vlogmas this year. I am both excited and nervous about doing Vlogmas. It is quite a commitment, although I'm going to do mine a little bit differently. So I am only going to be doing 4 episodes for Vlogmas instead of doing it daily like most people do. I'm going to be doing 4 weekly episodes of Vlogmas, releasing on each Friday in December leading up to Christmas Eve. I'm going to be releasing them on December 2nd, December 9th, December 16th, and December 23rd. And I am very excited to get these videos out to you. I really enjoyed watching some Vlogmas episodes last year, and it really does become this train that a lot of people like to jump on because it is really fun to do, and it kind of acts as like a little time capsule for that time of year for you. And I kind of like that by planning to do Vlogmas, Doyle and I have decided to go to a lot more Christmas themed events happening around us than we normally would. We are more like stay-at-home type people, but there's some really fun things happening, and doing Vlogmas is an excuse to go see them. So I'm really excited about it. I think I'm going to have a great time. I also think I'm going to get pretty tired, but I think it's going to be worth it. This video about making the monument hats was kind of like my practice run for getting the feel for doing a vlog style, and first of all, seeing if I enjoyed doing it. Second of all, seeing if I felt that I could do it. And third, how hard was it to edit? And I got the answers that I wanted that make me feel like I can do a Vlogmas series coming up in December. So it is going to be a bit of work for me because I don't typically release that many videos in sequence. So I am going to have to do some more editing than I normally do, or at least do my editing a little faster than normal, but I think it's going to be worth it in the end. I've got some great things planned for you, and I'm going to have different things in each episode, but I am also going to have 2 consistencies throughout the series of Vlogmas episodes. The first is that I have ordered a yarn advent, which I've done once before, and I had absolutely no self-control, and I opened it all as soon as I got it in the mail, which kind of defeats the purpose of the advent. But at the time, I was just too excited about it. But this time, my advent has arrived. It is still sitting on a table, has not been opened. I haven't lost self-control. But I will be opening each of the advents throughout my Vlogmas episodes. And the other bit of consistency throughout my Vlogmas episodes is that I'm going to be working on a Christmas project. I have decided that I want to knit myself something for Christmas to wear on Christmas Day. And you might be surprised by what I'm going to be making. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. I'll announce it in my first Vlogmas episode, but I am really excited about it. And I guess I can tell you one thing about it. It's going to be in a bright Christmassy red. Which, is that really much of a surprise? Not really. Christmas, red, it all goes together. Anyway, I wanted to do this little announcement at the end of my Monument Hat vlog style / podcast video because it all kind of ties in together. So the next time you see me will be Vlogmas episode 1, and that will be on December 2nd, and that will also be when I announce the winners of the Monument Hat vlog giveaway. So you're going to have until December 1st to get your comments in on this video in order to win one of the copies of the Monument Hat. And I will announce those winners in my December 2nd video of Vlogmas, episode 1 of Vlogmas. I fully blame Penrose Knits for me doing Vlogmas this year because I loved her Vlogmas episodes last year, and she has been nothing if not an influence when it comes to wanting me to do Vlogmas. She really wants me to do it this year, so I caved and I decided to do it. So, Laura, this is on you, but I'm sure you're going to love it. And I'm going to love it too. You're right. It's going to be really fun. So, there is my big announcement. So again, if you want to enter the giveaway for the Monument Hats, comment down below before December 1st and use the hashtag Monument Hat in your comment so I know that you would like to be entered in the giveaway. Thank you again so much to my friend Hannah of Herbgarden Knitwear for the giveaway. And if you don't win a copy of the pattern, I am also going to link the pattern down below in the description bar so that you can purchase a copy for yourself if you would like to make this. And that's all to say. That was a lot to say. So I hope you're still with me. And if you're a new viewer, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so happy you're here. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate it. I hope you all have a lovely holiday season, and I hope you enjoyed this new style of video, and I will see you on December 2nd for episode 1 of the Knitted by Whitney Vlogmas. Everyone, take care. Bye.